Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on the Customer Connect podcast. And especially thank you so much, Krista Williamson, my old coach. Hello.
Hello, thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here.
I worked with Krista at a really pivotal time in my life, which was when I had had my Christmas for 17 years and had been thinking about this type of business for years. Really, this has been a passion that I've been wanting to do for years. And Krista was the one who helped me see through the mud and the craze in my head, and everything was blocking me from moving to the next stage. So we worked very closely through a really difficult time, and I am incredibly grateful because I don't think I would have ever sold the business, certainly not as easily as I did if I hadn't met Krista and worked with you. So first of all, thanks, Krista.
Oh, that's so lovely. You were great to work with. And it's so funny because when you came to work with me, that's not actually what you came for. I don't know if you remember that. You came to me because you were streamlining your business, right? You were going from your store to the online, and that's what we were talking about. But as we worked together, that's what came out was you really wanted to sell your business and move on to something else. You just were
Absolutely.
having trouble admitting it and believing in it, right? And believing in it.
Totally true. And you're right. And even though what we did, the streamlining was so critical to the process of then selling the business and taking
That's
so
right.
many of the hats that I was wearing. I
Yeah.
was a person that was still wearing every hat possible, trying to do it all, and it is not the way to run a successful business.
Yeah. But not
So
uncommon.
first of all, we're going to talk about two different areas today. We had to narrow down. In fact, Krista and I are going to have another session together, which is fabulous, on some of the other topics. But today we're going to talk about two areas. First of all, we're going to talk about why we avoid the everyday tasks that actually benefit our businesses and how we can find simple ways to sort of overcome these blocks that we put in place. And the second thing we're going to talk about is how to help getting people slightly out of their comfort zone and becoming a little more visible in their business, because we know that this is something a lot of people find really difficult. But before we go into the two topics, Krista, can you start by telling us a bit about your journey in retail and now into coaching?
Sure, I'd love to. So I was a store owner for about 20 years. I had brick and mortars and an online business. And like you, when I started the online business, like nobody was online then. So we were really pioneering. And I did that for about 20 years. And I would say most of that time I was pretty stressed out, pretty exhausted, working around the clock, thinking this was the only way that things worked. And then I found coaching, and that changed everything for me. Like similar to your story, really streamlining things. And, I started working differently and doing things differently and managing my people differently. And then, unlike you, I knew I wanted out. I knew that it was time. And so coaching really helped me do that, just like you. I was ready for that and I started coaching. And that's what I've been doing for the last 5 years.
Yeah, and as I said, and we're going to talk more about coaching towards the end, because I do really want to outline the benefit. I know it's been pivotal at certain stages in my career to have a coach, and
Yeah.
I'm going to hold that conversation and talk a bit more about that, because I do think we often know it's beneficial, but also don't know where to start with something like that. So let's go to one of the first topics, though. We're going to talk about sort of everyday task, because so often we always want to play with the shiny glittery objects and everything that is fun and and I'm always talking about this in customer experience. Who wants to do the housekeeping when we can create a great new event or whatever we want to do? So it's these boring repetitive tasks that are so beneficial to our business, but just so many of us, and I am as guilty as anyone, kind of go, oh, why? So, why do business owners put off these tasks that they know in their heart will help them? What do you think is driving that?
Well, I think, the way we hear it from people is, I know I should get it done. I know it has to get done, but I just can't bring myself to do it. And it's about two things. One is urgency. We tend to do the things that are right in front of us. And the things that aren't urgent, the important things that aren't urgent, we just kind of put off. And that's everyone all the time. And the other thing is we have these stories in our head that kind of run on tape. So, like things like invoicing or writing the emails or just doing things that feels boring or hard. We often have stories about that. Maybe we think we're not good at something, or what's the point? And that's really, one of the biggest reasons that we don't do that stuff. We just put it off. We procrastinate.
I think you're so right. And I actually came to Krista through the Social Sales Girls, and I did one number of their courses. A great program, and Krista was involved with Susan, who runs that. And I did a course with them about email marketing, and I would ad hoc send emails to my client database, and I was always saying how important it is to grow the database, but then sending emails once in a while. And that program was all about sending 3 emails a week. And once that became a priority for my business, that money started to come in. And so
Right.
you kind of know it's there, but it's like, oh, I don't know if part of that is also that selling message. You're putting yourself out there, and you're sending the information. If they're not interested, then they're either going to drop off your list or not make a purchase. And then you feel like you failed rather than not knowing because you haven't asked them.
I think it's both of those things, right? It's both of those things. I think it's one, tying the reason you're doing it, right? We don't always tie the reason we're doing something, and like seeing the outcome. And the other reason is because of how it feels, right? We don't
Yeah.
we don't want to be disappointed. We don't want to do something that feels bad or we think we're not good at. So, that is why business owners put them off, because it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
And we
Yeah.
tend to gravitate towards the things that feel good or are easy for us.
Yeah. And to have a full day and be really busy, but taking those tasks that we really should be maybe setting aside to someone else so that we have got time to prioritize the business. But yeah, it doesn't get put in the
Meaning
diary.
like talking about delegating. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, if your day is full, or I don't have time to do, let's stick to emails as an example. If I don't have time to do emails, then that's the reason. But you've spent half your day dealing with stuff that you could easily have someone else do, and you could easily afford that if you had the money from the emails coming in to cover that extra person.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're talking about two sort of different things, because I think lots of times we think we don't have the time to do that. Right. But it's like you said, it's because we've been spending all of our time doing these other things that really we have no business doing. We shouldn't be spending time on. I don't know about you, but I was super famous for when I was trying to avoid something, whether it was like buying or dealing with a problem or paying my bills. I mean, most of the time I'd figured that out, but I would go out to the store or go into the warehouse, and suddenly, like, I would be flipping my store and I would be there till like midnight or 2 in the morning, convincing myself that it had to be done. But the truth was, I was really just avoiding whatever it was in my office that I didn't want to do. And I think it's really important to know that this is normal. This is what we all tend to do. And if we don't see that that's what's happening, then we keep doing it. But once we realize that that's what's happening, then we can start to address it.
Yeah, and you're so right. It is normal. I think the unusual, the abnormal, is the person who doesn't do this, and who can immediately go, "This is the priority," and get the job done. And they're all the voices that we so often hear in our voices in our head that are negative and so forth aren't there. They're not the normal ones. The rest of us are all experiencing the same thing.
Yeah, but I think those people are too. They've just learned to not pay attention to them
Mm,
as much.
okay.
And that's really what happens, right? So when we think about like what's happening, what's going on behind the scenes, like inside of our head and in our bodies, we are not wired to do the important things that are going to create the success in our business. We
Yeah.
think like so many of my clients will say like, I don't, there's something wrong with me that I can't seem to get myself to do this. And what we don't realize, or what they don't realize, is that we are all wired this way. And once the jig is up, like once you know that's what's going on, that you're wired just to sort of stay safe and do what's easy and do what feels good, then it gets a lot easier because you expect to feel, you expect to feel dread. You
Yeah.
expect to feel nervous. You expect to want to avoid these kinds of things that you want to do. And so when you expect it, then you can start to go, okay, I see what's happening here.
Yeah.
Um, and then and we'll talk more about this, but then you can start connecting it to, oh, it doesn't matter that I feel this way. I still need to
Yeah.
do it because it's going to be really important for my business. If I don't get these invoices out, we're not getting paid.
Yeah.
If I don't get the inventory purchased, because it's going to take me, I'm telling myself it's going to take me forever to do all this buying for next season. If I don't get this done and get it in on time, we're not going to have product,
Yeah.
right? So if you don't know that's happening, then you don't catch it and you don't walk yourself through it, and just know that all of those feelings are going to be there.
That's completely true, because as soon as you can be, I guess, conscious of whatever's going on, you're far more
Mm.
likely to be able to slowly make the steps necessary to adjust that behavior if you need to improve things in whichever aspect of your life, I guess, not just in the business side.
Yeah, because it's not because you don't know how to do hard things, or
Yeah.
because you lack discipline or you're not good at something. It's just the brain. It's just you being human, doing human things, right? And you just
Yeah.
have to be aware of it, right? It has to be
Yeah.
on your radar.
Yeah. So would you say that it's the wiring that's is what's happening when we're avoiding these everyday things like the invoicing, like scheduling?
Yeah, so if we talk about like what's behind it, the big thing is the way we are, the way we're wired, and also those stories that are in our head,
Yeah.
right? Those are those things that we tell them ourselves over and over, the things that we think are just true, either about ourselves or about situations. And and we don't know this is happening. It's all going on sort of subconsciously. We're not
Yeah.
even aware, right? And if we sort of dive a little bit deeper into some of the things that maybe, like, I don't know, doing something that maybe is really hard for some people, like paying the bills or doing the finances, they have these stories underneath, and those stories maybe have been there for a super long time and they're not even aware of it, right? It could be, I'm just not good at numbers, I can't figure this out, this is so hard. There could be a story about, no matter what I do, I always feel so stressed about paying the bills. There's never enough. Like, so there's those stories that play over and over and over. And, they bring up all those feelings for us, all those emotions in our body before we even do the thing. Like, we put it on our calendar and that starts happening in our body. And,
Yeah.
it doesn't feel good. And so we procrastinate.
Yeah.
And this is normal.
Yep.
Like, we
And
we are made to respond to that.
yeah. And I'm thinking about how many podcasts I've listened to over the years with successful business owners who have said exactly what you're talking about, and they have somehow become aware of that and changed their behavior, but they've made those statements exactly like you're
Yeah.
saying. So many of them, particularly the finance side. I don't
Mhm.
know how to manage it, or
Mhm.
I'm bad with numbers, or they don't want to know. There might have been something in their past that wasn't positive, and
That's right.
when they finally actually somehow get to that point of understanding it, then their business, you know, the growth comes from that new understanding
Yeah.
and new behaviors that come from that.
Well, they stop fighting it. They stop
Yeah.
avoiding it. And I think that's the biggest thing too. They don't they expect it to happen, and then they know that they can deal with it. Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so I don't have to wait for this fear to go away, whether it's fear or embarrassment or disappointment or like whatever it is. oh, I don't have to wait for that not to be there. I don't have to do like all this deep work and make it go away. And it doesn't have to be perfect. Oh, I just feel this way and I do it because I know it's going to happen every single time. And
Yeah.
over time it happens less. I
Yeah.
mean, you know this, I know this over time. And it's not as important, but in the beginning, when you're not aware of it, you don't even realize that you're getting in your own way. You just don't even know it.
Absolutely. It's so true. So we've got a little understanding now of why, but what are some of the simple ways to make those tasks easier to get done, and how does that affect, your customers' experience with your business?
Yeah. So I think, I mean, there's lots of things that you can do, but if we make it really tangible, I think first, some of the things you can do are shrink it. So I'm going to say three things: shrink it, connect, connect it, and routine it. So the first one is shrink it. So when something feels really daunting, like it's a really big task, like what would be some good things? Put in a new POS, create a new website, um, hire a new 3PL. Like those are really, really big things. They can feel daunting. You want to do them for your business, but you just keep putting it off. So the what you can do is you can shrink it. You can make the task feel doable by making it smaller, break it up into small little
Yeah.
steps. So that's shrink it. And I'm sure you've done that. It's very, very helpful for lots of things. And you can do it with all kinds of other things like your launch, your emails, all of the things, even, paying your bills, everything. So you make the task smaller. And then connect it. So what's the bigger reason that you want to do this? And that can be hard to find when it's one of, like what you said, those everyday boring tasks. But if you think about it beforehand and you connect it to like, what's your goal?
Mm.
What's your big reason for doing this? And getting really clear in your head, if I want that, then this is just something that I have to do. And how I feel is just part of it. Right? It's just going to happen every single time, and I just have to do it. Those things have to be together. And then routine it. And this is one I think a lot of us don't realize is so simple. So you just create a routine with it. So if every single Tuesday you do the same thing over time, it gets easier because you don't have to think about it. You just start doing it, right? And it requires less energy. And I think the added bonus with the routine it would be to pair it with something that you like. So like
Okay.
something you enjoy. So I don't know, coffee always comes to mind for me. Have an amazing cup of coffee or light a candle or play the music that you like or do something really fun afterwards. I remember at the store when I would do something like that, I would tell myself when I'm done this, I can walk down to Tim Hortons. That's the coffee shop in Canada. I can walk down to Tim Hortons and get a delicious coffee that I don't have to make myself.
Yeah.
So that works really well. And I think also of a client, let's like connect this for, a real customer. So one of the things that your customers will understand, one of the things she was having a lot of trouble doing was updating her inventory. So her inventory wasn't dynamic. She had like a little boutique and she had an online business and they didn't talk to each other.
Oh.
So she had to update her inventory manually and she fixed it later. But in the beginning, this was a big deal and she
Mm.
hated it. She dreaded it, didn't want to do it. So what she did was she paired it with her morning coffee. She got into the place a little bit, her shop a little bit early. She put her coffee on, she put a little music on, and she just started doing this every morning. And after that, it was no problem. Like, it took a couple of weeks, and she was like, "Oh, this is just what I do." Right. And we already, like, pretty much everybody already has this. We have a Monday routine, right? A start of the week routine with our business. We have a closing up the week routine. We have a morning routine, a nighttime routine. So if you just systemize it, it makes it so much easier. And why is this important? Like, if we talk about the customer connection part, and you and I were talking about this earlier, I think customer connection is one of the most important things when you have a business, like a product based business. And it's so easy to forget that.
Mm.
And so I think putting off the sort of mundane, what we might think are boring or those everyday tasks, we don't think that it affects the customer, but it absolutely does, because you end up with um, late orders, out of stocks, poor communication, right? And so all of that erodes at the trust with our customer, I think. And that at the end of the day is going to affect your business, because it's going to affect your sales, right? Your customers aren't going to come to you as much.
I think you're so right there, and so many points, there's so many things I've been thinking about as you've been sharing that. The connected piece and the why. I wonder if part of it is that we feel that it's not okay, because why we're in business, and I now will regularly say to people, we should be in business. It's okay to say you're in business to make money.
Yeah.
And I think we are afraid to actually, if we get employed by someone, we get paid for what we do. As business owners,
Mhm.
we work very hard, but for some reason, we almost don't want to own that we want to make business. So, when you were talking about the connected piece and the why, I wonder if part of this not sending out the invoices or not doing the emails that we know can make us money is because we don't actually truly, I don't know if it's worthy is not whether we think we're worthy. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but if it's part of that block in the fact that we can make money out of this and
Oh, I
for
think
whatever
that's a
reason.
huge thing for some, right? For some
Mm,
store owners. It's because they sort of feel like they're doing something wrong
yeah,
if they start to make a profit, right? So as the store goes well and they start to make money, some business owners really hit a wall because they feel guilty, or they
yeah,
feel like they're doing something wrong. And so then, they start to sort of, I guess, self-sabotage. They start to do
mm,
things or not do things that are necessary for their business.
yeah,
And so sometimes it's that. And sometimes I think, it's not that. I think that they know that it's okay to make money, um, but they they just can't get themselves to do it because it's boring,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
They haven't made the connection of how important this thing is to the
yeah,
end result that they want to make the
yeah,
money,
absolutely.
right? So I
I
think
think
it can
about,
be both.
yeah, yeah, they're thinking about, I used to have in the store customer inquiries. And so, you've got this list of inquiries and customers who want stuff. But is anyone going through the book and checking it and following it up and sending notes to their customers? Or these are the ones who are ready to put their hand in their pocket. The people who call and then businesses don't get back to them or don't answer the phone. It's like
I
these are the
know.
ones,
This is
these
so
are the guys
true.
with the hands in their pocket ready to throw cash at
Yeah.
you, and the easiest sales you can get your hands on. And businesses are out there going, I don't think I'll bother answering the call, or even have a phone number on my website or whatever. That really just irks me.
Again, I think that's not on their radar always. I think they're so busy doing all this stuff, either because they need to hire somebody with some of that stuff, or because they're not prioritizing and
Mm,
understanding, making that connection to the why.
yeah,
What should I be doing? What shouldn't I be doing if this is my goal? And so I'm not sure that it's always on their radar. They don't even know that they're doing it. And
yeah,
I will say, like, you'd think it would be easier now because there's so many automations now, and my clients tell me about stuff all the time. Uh, I'm not paying attention to that as much, all the that sort of stuff, but
mm,
I'll have my clients tell me like all these great programs that do that for online businesses. But in the store, like you, we had like a document that my employees would write in when someone would ask for something. And it was their job every day to initial stuff and to go through this list and to make sure
mm,
that you were keeping up with this stuff. And even if you didn't have anything to tell the customer, like
yeah,
it's in,
yes,
we would still call and say, hey, I want you to know I haven't forgotten about you, right? You're important to us.
so
Right.
important.
And that's a priority
Yeah,
more than straightening that product. Even though that is a great thing that you're doing, we need to connect with our customers. We need to know how they need to know how important they are for to us. Yeah.
oh, so true. And particularly where you say, even when you don't have an answer, just letting them know that they haven't been forgotten. I always say that
Yes.
if you contact the customer before they contact you, then you're on top of
Yeah.
your game. If you let them know there's going to be a delay and
Hmm.
apologize in advance, they'll be okay. If you don't let them know and they have to contact you, then they're going to be peeved that you're not caring about them and
That's
what they
right.
need.
You want to call them. I mean, we're so afraid to call customers. I don't know about you. I remember out of stocks being a problem.
Mm,
There was a miscount or something happened or the one on the shelf was broken or whatever it was. And, I remember my employees just about breaking and going, well, I don't want to bring it to their attention. Like they're going to
mm,
get mad. And I would say, no, 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 no. That's exactly what we need to do. We
yeah,
need to let them know before it becomes a big problem and let them know we're on top of it,
yeah,
right? Like we can't prevent everything from happening,
that's
but
right.
we sure can make it right
Yep,
or
yep,
do our best.
absolutely agree.
So I
Um,
have three, I don't know if this will be helpful, but I have three, I guess mindset shifts, I like to call
yeah,
them, but three ways of thinking about the first topic that we were talking about, which is why am I putting off all this stuff and how can I stop doing that when it's really important to our business? And I would say the first one is progress over pressure. So instead of thinking I have to get everything done, I have this huge list and it's so overwhelming. And that's why I keep avoiding it. Just pick one thing. So, progress, I'm going to get these little things done, and over time, it's going to add up, and I'm going to get the big thing done. And then, connection over perfection. So, all of these tasks aren't don't need to be done perfectly. We have to remember that when we do them, we're maintaining that connection with our customer. And rhythm over willpower. So it's not about pushing harder, it's about setting up a flow.
I love that. That's fantastic. It reminds me of actually one of the first projects we worked on together was I had a very
Mm,
big Christmas in July launch where I had socials and sales every day for 30 days and I had a huge
remember
spreadsheet.
that.
Yeah, but rather than looking at a wall of things I had to do, I was basically every task was a brick in that
Yeah.
wall and I could go in every time I did a task, I just colored in the little square as my spreadsheet got filled ready for the launch and it that little process of coloring it in just made me feel really good. I could see I was getting there with each of those little and it ended up looking like a wall because it was all different color coded depending on what I did, but it really
And
helped
what you
me get there.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I just want to say what you said is really important because I don't know if we were talking about this before the call or during the call, but the whole celebration piece,
Oh yeah.
right? What motivates us? What
Mm,
feels good? And so, like
yeah.
you said, when you chunk it down like that and you focus on that one little brick and then you color it in and you're like, ooh, satisfaction, that felt so good, right? Then your brain wants to do more.
Absolutely. And let's go to that just quickly before we go on to the next topic, because I think we did talk about this beforehand. And we were saying how important as business owners we don't celebrate enough. And I was
Oh,
actually saying that, I've just recovered from knee replacement. When I do my exercises out loud, I would say, well done, Nicole. Because,
right.
sometimes, you push yourself. And in business now, I do try and say, well done when things go well. And we're actually saying it takes till you're in your 50s to potentially have that mindset to actually go, you know what, it's okay to go, woo, yay us.
I think that we can learn. I mean, I think that for us, we were just talking about coming from Gen X. Maybe,
Mm,
it took us till
mm,
we're in our 50s because we were
yep.
not socialized that way. We were not raised that way. And you running around, saying, "Ooh, good job," people would have thought you might be off your rocker, right? But now I think people understand that how we're motivated, that actually you're going to get more, you're going to get better results if you're motivating yourself from this positive place.
Yep.
And that's a little bit counterintuitive, we think, and for some of us, and I was one of them, and I would drive myself, I guess, from a very negative place, right? All that mean girl talk to get
Yep.
yourself to do stuff. And you're not even aware you're doing it until you start to shine a light on it. But the truth is, when you talk nicely to yourself and you encourage yourself, you actually create better results and you want to do it more and your brain works better. And celebration is part of that. Like just saying it out loud sends endorphins through your body, right? There's an actual chemical reaction that happens in your body, and your body goes, well, that was cool. Let's do that again, right?
Absolutely.
So it's a very smart business strategy
Yep.
to talk yourself through it, right?
Yep.
Because you're going to
And
get better results.
absolutely. And I think you're right. It's our generation. It wasn't taught
Yeah.
that way. And hopefully the younger ones are a little kinder to themselves. And I do feel that maybe they are. And, it won't take them as long as it's taken us. But yeah, if you're not doing it already, guys, when you do something, just say it out loud. Well done.
Right.
You know, it's
Yeah.
you'll get used to it. At first you'll think you feel it very odd, but it's actually something now that I'm getting much better at. Or I'll go into one of my family members and high five them. They may not even know what the high five's for. But
Yeah, it really makes a big difference. And I will tell you, I have a 3-year-old granddaughter, and she is so funny when, she'll do something and we'll say, oh, good job. She'll say, yeah, it was, or we'll say, oh, you're really good at that. Good for you. And she'll say, yeah, I am.
yeah,
It feels good, and we do it naturally, right? So
yeah,
once we get over that hump and stop feeling silly about it, we'll see the benefits of it. And it
yeah,
makes a huge difference. And you can even do it quietly in your head.
yeah.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Just do it. Be brave.
All right. Well, talking brave, I think that's a great word to use when we step into our second part of the conversation, which is
Ah,
about visibility. And a nice segue there. Uh, we hear so many consumers connect with with people and not businesses. But so many business owners struggle, and it's a real struggle. We get it. We're lucky. Like I've got you very used to being in front of the camera and connecting this way, but I know there are many other things in my business life I find incredibly difficult and scary and don't want to do. But we have these roadblocks to
mm,
maybe to our connecting with our customers, and definitely customers want to see the business owner, I believe, particularly small business. They want to buy from a person, not a business, and they want to know who that person is. But many people find that difficult. So we thought we'd chat a bit about how maybe we can take baby steps into that visibility piece and becoming a little bit more visible with your customers and with your business. So I want to start by asking, why do you think so many business owners hesitate to put themselves out there, whether it's photos, video, or even just sharing their story, even if they're not in the photos? What do you think's driving that?
well, I think, what we've already really talked about, it really applies here. It's really the same thing, right? It just causes us to hide the whole visibility part. And it's the way we're wired. We're wired to avoid anything that feels risky or scary. And rejection is one of the biggest ones, right? Embarrassment, anything that feels dangerous to us, we are wired to avoid it. And if we've had any experience, which we all have had experiences where maybe things haven't gone the way we expected to them, or we felt embarrassed, or we were rejected, we've all had that.
Yeah.
And so what happens is the brain creates a little shortcut, and it automatically floods you with emotions, right? So sensations in your body, it floods you with thoughts in your head, anything, red alert, stop, 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 don't do that. It's way too risky. And so the reason for some of us might be a little more sensitive, we might be introverts, right? It becomes even harder, but we come by it naturally. It's normal. All those feelings that we have, they're normal. All those thoughts that are ripping around in our head, they're all normal. And on top of that, we have a story. We might have a story about it, right? Of again, we sort of touched on that. It could be about us, like I'm not good at that. I'm awkward, or it could be about our business, right? But the stories are all just to protect us from not being rejected or not flopping on our face and being embarrassed, and somehow making that the end of the world. And I know for me, I had a real story about my business, which was, they're not really interested in me. I don't really need to do that.
Mm,
And so I did such a fabulous job when everything changed in business, right? When we started our business, there was no Facebook.
mm,
That was not how we did business,
yeah,
right? We put an ad in something, right? In a magazine,
yeah,
on the radio, whatever it is we did. Maybe we went to local events, things like that. And then when things started to change, that part of it started to change. And how they learned to like, know, and trust us was to hear our voice, right? To see our faces. And I convinced myself that I didn't need to be that. And so I created this great brand that I thought people would connect with, and they did. But when I came out in the store, or I was part of something like an ad on the radio, it like 10x'd the
wow,
response, right? And so you just kind of have to, people will say you have to get over yourself, but to be
mm,
sensitive about it, you have to know that those feelings you're having and those fears are real because they're happening in you,
yeah,
but they're not going to hurt you. They're just feelings, and you
yeah,
can do it while you have that, right? Your body might think there's a tiger chasing you, but really there's not,
yeah.
right? You can just do it and feel that way and understand that that's what you need to do for your business. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And going back to, I always say I like to sit in my comfort zone, and people out there would go, but you're in front of the camera all the time doing this and that and the other. And I was just talking before we started about going to networking events terrifies me. Walking into a room where you've got to start talking about yourself with people you don't know. And so that's my equivalent, just to share that we all have them, and starting by being aware of it, and then just going into small ones, and slowly building myself up into bigger ones is how I'm going to go about changing it, because I know for my business to succeed, I actually need to do this. As much as I hate it as a thought, I will be doing it next year because
Oh, so
it's
not
special.
helpful. Oh, so not helpful to be saying to yourself over and over, gosh, I hate this, right? But you can acknowledge this is really uncomfortable for
Yeah.
me. I
Mm.
feel like I'm being chased like a tiger. I feel like I'm going to say the wrong thing, right? You acknowledge it and then you do it anyway, right? You
Oh,
walk yourself through it. And I think normalizing it, just understanding that it's not because there's something wrong with you. Your system is just working the way it's supposed to.
yeah.
Your system just has to learn that there's no tiger chasing you, and that you're going to be okay, and that you can survive it no matter what happens, and that you'll get better as you go.
Yeah.
And it's good
I,
for your business.
and I promise not to use the word hate then moving forward there. Thank you for my extra session, Krista, today.
Well, I think that it's really normal because you were just saying out loud what was going on in your
Mm.
head,
But it is
right?
good
It's really
to those that negative talk, to tone it down by just being aware of it, I think is important. I hear what you're saying, even that we, because if we can make it smaller, going back to what you were saying, if we can shrink it, then
normal.
it helps us maybe move into it. So looking at the actual, the moving into it, what's the best ways for store owners to ease into the visibility if it feels really
Yeah.
uncomfortable?
Yeah, I think reminding yourself that you're not performing. I know for me, that was the big thing. You're not performing, you're connecting. So
Hmm.
you're keep that customer front and center. Imagine that you're at the store and you're just talking to someone in the store. It's the very same thing. And
Yeah.
so you start small, right? Maybe you don't go from nothing to making these elaborate videos, or plastering your picture everywhere or doing that kind of stuff. You just start with one small thing, right? You start with a picture of yourself, maybe on your About You page.
Yeah.
And for a lot of people, that's huge,
Yeah.
right? And there's going to be a little bit of blowback that happens
Yeah.
inside of you. And so, you know, think about for you where you are and just start small. Maybe it's writing a little personal note at the beginning of your weekly email. Maybe
Yep.
it's sharing something about yourself, like a funny little quirk. Like, I love fairies. I'm just going to say, and I have little fairy doors in my house. So you don't, right? I know it's kind of weird, right? But I do. I have little fairy doors and I love them. And so just sharing something like that with your customers who are online really helps them, feel closer to you, feel connected to you, to really make that connection in their brain. Oh, yeah, there's a person. There's a person there, and she's kind of funny and quirky, and I can trust her, and I like her, and I want to spend money at her store. I want to tell my friends about her store. So just start small, right? Don't think that you have to do all the things. Just pick one thing.
I think that there's so many valid and really strong points that you make there. And it made me think of an interview I ran with Dan Gingas, who's a customer experience speaker and a brilliant man. He's got a couple of good books. And he has, I think it's something like 6 facts about me you wouldn't know on his About Me page.
Mm,
And,
love
and
that.
one of them was I delivered pizza to Michael Jordan. And so when I interviewed him, I was like, well, I want to, tell me a bit about this.
Yeah.
But they were great little facts. They were the little snippets of fun things that about him that meant that I felt like I knew the person before I even met
Right.
him, which was great. I wanted to share something that wasn't my idea. I heard it from someone on socials where she said she had blocked all of her family and friends from her business page
Hmm.
because them seeing her made her feel so nervous and worried
Hmm.
and self-conscious. And so to free up so that she could speak to her customers more freely and to grow her business, that helped her. And I know with what I'm doing now, I'm doing some stuff on TikTok. I actually did a whole lot of blocking on one of my Instagram and TikTok pages of family and friends because it's something I'm not ready to have those conversations yet.
Yeah.
And to have a place. So that's another thing you can do if you're not, not if that's the thing holding you back, the thoughts of what your people then that's a great one.
Yeah, I think it's really smart. I remember you and I talking about this actually at one point, because who's the inventor of Spanx? Sarah.
Oh gosh, I know who you mean, but I can't remember her name.
Yeah, welcome to being in our
Yeah.
50s, right? So one of the things she talked about when she started Spanx was that she kind of kept it a little secret. Her little
Mm,
special thing that she was working on, she believed in it. And so she just didn't share it with people because she didn't want to hear all their negativity. She didn't want to hear why her dream might not work because she knew it was fragile.
yeah.
Right. And so she just kind of kept it safe. And that's a very similar thing. And I think it's smart. It's really no different than, say, taking all the potato chips out of your house when you want to start eating differently. Right. It's just removing the problem. It's not
Yeah.
a long term solution, but it might be just what you need to take that first step.
Yeah. And another one I think that is a great way of doing a first step, and you're so right about the About Us page, that even that can be making that About Us page being about you as well as a business is for so many
Yes.
people just really difficult. So having a little bit of information about yourself, a photo of you with your team or your family. So again, you don't feel like it's just you that they are looking at, I think can
That's
help.
smart.
Yeah, it can really, you become one of 8. You're not the focal point. Keep the photo small, but it's there. It's so
Yeah.
powerful to have it there.
I actually wrote a couple of things too. Another one was like a behind the scenes photo of you is
Yeah,
another good one. So it doesn't necessarily have to be a posed or a full, front of your face picture where you
yeah,
just feel so exposed. It could just be a little video or a little picture of you in action,
yep,
right?
yep,
And that can be good. And the other one was when you're trying to sort of get yourself used to doing it, you could put together a little video thank you, but never send it. Just practice doing it.
yep,
Like when, I don't know if you did this, but as a kid, I used to stand in front of the mirror and pretend like it was a commercial. I can remember doing that, brushing my teeth as a kid. It's kind of silly like that. No one ever has to see it.
yeah,
Just kind of get your nervous system, like get your body, your brain, your body used to doing this thing that feels really weird and scary. And over time, you just get more comfortable with it.
Yeah, totally. I think that, and that's the thing. I think that those voices, negative speak we give to ourselves that maybe is stopping us too. For me, I'm a larger woman. The thought of being in front camera, horrid. Now, every video I do and did with the business, I pretty much had a table in front of me. So I felt a lot more comfortable that I didn't have my entire body exposed. It was just the way I could get out there in
Yeah.
in a more comfortable situation where I could actually, then relax. If I was standing, I felt very, very awkward.
Yeah, I think what happens is we think we have to sort of do it the way other people do it, or we have to do it this perfect way that they say we have to do
Mm,
it, some expert, and so then we don't do it at all.
yeah,
No, start where you are and set things up so that it makes it feel safer and more comfortable. Like take that barrier down and just get started.
yeah,
Right? So I the two things to keep in mind, so progress over perfection,
yeah,
right? Just notice each time you're doing something that you're getting and tell yourself that, "Oh,
yeah,
I'm getting better at this." Right? "I'm learning how to do this. I'm getting more exposure."
yeah,
And make sure you look back and see, like, a month ago I hadn't even started to do this, and now, I've done it 3 times. Like,
yeah,
really focus on progress over perfection, and then connection over performance. And
yeah,
this is something I use all the time, right? Remember to connect, not to perform.
yeah,
No one's showing up, even with a retail, like, product-based business. No one is really showing up to see you perform.
yeah,
They want to connect with you. They want to know that you're just like them. They want to know who you are. And so
yeah,
connect with them like you would any other human being in your life.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. So at a practical level, if you can start with that about us, if you've done nothing else, if you've already done that, maybe have some photos, as you said, sort of just doing things around the store. So again, it's not you standing there all fluffed up and ready for the prom, um, and
Right. Don't make it a
then
big deal.
yeah, yeah, and be kind to yourself because no one's
Yeah.
looking at you in the detail that you think that they are. So
Mhm.
they're just seeing that you're there. So if you can try to be kind to yourself, it's going to make it a lot easier. The other thing I think could help people is using photos and then creating reels with audio over the top. So if you're not comfortable with video and talking to camera, once you get through those steps, maybe you can look at that. Or maybe you're comfortable talking, but you don't want the photos. Even if you're seen that way and you're using the video is of the products, but your voice is there, so
Right.
it's still connecting to the business and
Yeah,
connecting
that's
you.
brilliant.
Yeah,
I think the most important message is to just get started. Start where you are, start with what you know, let it be easy, and start small,
yeah, yeah,
right? And understand why you're doing it because customers want to be connected.
yeah. Yeah, and you are going to make more sales from it. I truly believe that to be the case. That connection and longer term connection with your business rather than just a one-off sale.
Yeah.
Okay, I said at the beginning I do want to talk about coaching because I think it's really important. I know that my business, I have before you, I had another coach for a period of time, and then your input to my business and what I was able to achieve during those times was really pivotal to change and to growth and to me feeling better about how I was managing the business because I was able to, get some of those extra thoughts and things in place with your help. So I do want you to tell us a little bit about some of the main points that people, why they've come to you and how coaches can help business owners to both for their business perspective and even from a personal perspective.
So the people who generally like I work with, 99% of the people that I work with are business owners of a certain flavor. They're generally overwhelmed, they're successful, they're competent. They really do know what they're doing, yet they're living in this state of total overwhelm. They're stretched to the max right? They're working way more than they want to be. Um, they, and the basic thing for them is that they want really simple things. They want to go on a vacation and not take their laptop. They want to be able to sleep through the night without waking up in a panic about how they're going to make payroll. um, they want to like their business again. They don't want to feel all this pressure. They want to have time for themselves. They would like to maybe go to an exercise class. They would like to have time, a night out with their friends, things like that. So that's generally who comes to me. um, and they know where they want to go, but they just don't know how to get there, right? They've maybe tried all different things. They feel like they need more time. If they don't get a handle on this stress, they're going to blow a gasket, and they just have no idea how to make it all work. And they're sort of getting to that point where they don't like their business anymore because they don't see a way out. And I will say, on the outside, everything looks great. A lot of the people that I work with have, people say to them, wow, you're really killing it. Look at you. And inside they're going, yeah, I don't think I can do this anymore. I am at my wit's end. And generally it's because they've gotten their business to this place, like after working a certain way, working really hard, doing things a certain way, doing all the things in their business, putting in so much time, and then they get to this point in their business where that doesn't work anymore.
Yep.
All those things that they were doing stop working, and they realize that they need to change. So that's who kind of shows up at my door. And and they are looking for some of the things that I shared with you. And so I think the second part of your question is, how do I work with them? Like, why coaching?
Yep.
And I wrote down 3 things. I was thinking about it and I was like, well, the result that they want, we always talk about this, is um, where they want to be. Well, with coaching, they're going to get there faster. It's going to be way easier, and it's going to last longer. And it's because we can't see what we can't see, right? It's like you can't see the back of your head to cut your hair. Well, it's the same thing with coaching. Your coach is really there catching patterns, being able to show you what you would say stuff to me, and all I would do is reflect it back to you, ask you a couple of questions, and you might stop and go, wait a minute, I don't actually think that way, or that's not actually what I want, or I can see what I'm doing, right? Oh, I can see how I'm getting in my own way. So that's one thing. The other thing is accountability, but not in the traditional sense. Like, I'm not sitting here with my pen and paper when you show up and checking off everything. But because we talk about the day-to-day situational things, you become more accountable to yourself.
Yep.
You can't just sort of barrel through all the things that you said you were going to do, that you didn't do. You can't barrel through it because you have someone on the other side saying, so update me. How's it going? What was that like? Tell me about that. So there's that. Getting out of your own way. And coaches help you create momentum because you're doing, the small steps. And over time, that adds up. And when you don't have somebody saying, hey, let's look at the progress, or let's look at how that worked, you don't slow down to see it. You don't slow down to see where you're getting in your own way, and you don't slow down to see where you're making progress. And I think the biggest thing is the support. I think
Yeah.
when you're a business owner, and I talk with a lot of business owners, it's amazing how isolated they feel. Even when they're in groups, even when they're, in coaching groups or in masterminds, they still are in their head. They are still really beating up on themselves, right? They are still experiencing all those things, and they feel really alone. They feel like they can't talk to their staff. They can't talk to their partner or their family or their friends. Nobody understands, right? And so just having somebody that has the context, somebody that isn't going to judge you, is really just going to listen, I think that support is huge. So did I
You
answer
are
your question?
absolutely, and it's funny because you'd even written them down. I wrote down accountability for when I thought about
Mm,
what we did, and it can be lonely. being a business owner,
Yeah.
and having that person helping you. So I am going to, give you a huge rap here, Krista, because your experience in retail, for anyone listening, makes the difference too, because you get it, you understand what people have been through, are going through, and you come at it from both sides. So having that industry experience, as well as being an amazing coach, truly turned my life around, as well as being able to sell the business. Prior to that, just getting those systems in place to give me some more time, because I was that person doing it all 80 hours a week, and every year going, I'm not going to be doing this again next year. And the following year I'd be in the same situation doing exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
So
And I've been there.
yeah,
I did exactly the same thing. I know how it feels. And you're right. I know what it's like to be a business, like a store owner, an online store owner, a brick and mortar store owner. I really do. I understand it. And I think in some cases, context really matters, right?
yeah,
Because there's nuances to it that
yeah,
aren't the same if you work for someone. It's really different.
absolutely. Absolutely. You have kindly given us a resource to Krista, which will be in the show notes. But let me just say also here, 3 simple steps to cut through overwhelm. It's on Krista's website, which is kristawilliamson.com. And to find it, the link is overwhelm.kristawilliamson.com. So that's where you can check that out. Krista has a podcast too, which has been going now. What are we up to? 5 months, 6 months, or longer?
No, I'm only at 3 months.
Oh, 3 months.
But
Okay.
no, I'm convinced the first 3 months are probably the hardest.
Yeah. Well, podcast A New Ambition. So you can look up
Yes.
Krista Williamson as well, A New Ambition. So check that out. If you do need help with your coaching and sort of taking yourself and your business to the next level, I do highly recommend Krista. I think you can hear I'm incredibly grateful for what you've done to me, for me, in our time. It's always a thrill catching up with you. Just to round out our conversation, I think, as you said, it's not about discipline or perfection. It's about starting small and just starting and working slowly to make those changes, to adjust our habits, I guess, and our thinking, and to slowly move our thinking around so that it can be more positive and help us and help us grow the business as well. Thank you again, Krista. This has been amazing. We are going to have another session on other topics that we'll bring to you very soon as well. And definitely check out though Krista's website and podcast, because there's loads of gold in there as well. All
Thank
right,
you so
Krista,
much.
thank
It's
you.
been my
And
pleasure.
to everyone else, have a sensational week. We'll be back with you soon. If you're not following, make sure you follow the podcast or share it with your friends in retail. This is a great one to share with anyone in retail. Lots of information that they can, everyone can find really helpful and get started slowly. All right, everyone, have a great day, and we'll see you soon. Bye.